Okay, welcome back to Fair Farms. I'm going to show you what we're doing for feed planting. We are making, some might call it an intensive feed garden, but we're really piloting a lot of different crops this year and trying to see what grows so we can expand that more in the coming years. So right here is the place that was tilled the other day. We threw alfalfa seeds in beds. So you can see there's these about meter wide beds where we will have some sprouting alfalfa seeds coming up soon. Behind all of that area that's nice and green is a silvopasture pilot that we started. And let me stop this video and get a little closer and we can show that off a little. All right, so here's the silvopasture pilot. We piloted with orange trees, a big kind of cash crop here when we can harvest the fruits in a couple of years. So we have orange trees growing inside this part of the pasture and all of these native grasses, tall, multi-species native grasses. So many different things growing in here. Been told that this one is good for the goats, that they like these leaves. Here is the invasive one we saw in earlier videos from Senegal. There's some vines in here. This one here is leguminous. So this is a legume, helps fix nitrogen in the soil. So it's a multi-species, really just the native grasses coming up here. At first we threw seed. We threw alfalfa seed all over this and we irrigated it before the rains even started coming and everything came up. The native grasses kind of grew out of control and the weeds were a little bit out of control. So we learned, and that is why we are planting the alfalfa in beds this time so that we can do some weed control and see how it really grows. So let me take you to another part. Okay, and here's the joy of working with goats. You find them where they're not supposed to be, eating your corn. Hey, acha! Time to chase out goats. Okay, back to our regularly scheduled programming. This whole area here, on the other side of the alfalfa plot, is grass that we've cut, and we're getting ready to prepare so that we can plant some other things. We have mixed cover crop species and a crop from Botswana called Lab that we want to trial in here. That's another legume. It fixes nitrogen and it's a high protein source. So this area is in preparation. There was a lot of grasses growing in here, so they had to be cut down. And so we've got them drying here. We can use them for compost or burn them depending on the time of the year. And then after we do that, we're gonna till it like this and prepare it to be ready for seed. And so why we till is to break up the roots. So over here in this area, we've cut all these grasses down, but there's still a lot of roots in here. And so if we just plant directly into that, these grasses will come back up. So we're breaking up the root bed to stop the competition from these weeds. They're not necessarily weeds. Some of them are grasses that are useful. It's all kind of, you use the word that's important to you there, but the reason for tilling is to break up these weeds here, and that's why we've done the tilling here. And so I'm going to get some soil samples so we can do some comparisons between the two and see how they're different. But the other thing I'll say about tilling, you'll hear no-till, all of these no-till practices. And so the idea about no-till is that if you're doing this, all of your topsoil is now emerged. That's why it's nice and black. All of that organic material is now up that was sequestered around those roots. So now that you have all of your carbon storing topsoil like this, when there's winds, that can all be blown away. So it's a balance of trying to not have that soil be blown away and not lose that organic material. So that's why there's some opponents of tilling out there, but it's about how you manage it. So we tilled and we planted our seeds the very same day. We're waiting a few days for sprouts to come up, but then hopefully we'll have the root bed in there that keeps that organic material and that topsoil in the soil. So that's how we employ tilling. Much more to say about it. Everything's context specific in agriculture. Okay, and now the last part of our little feed bed is this area here where we're trialing corn. Let's get up close to a corn plant. really small plants here and here. So you can see them, and they're small because our goats have eaten them. And you can see there's also weeds in here too. So the pressure of being eaten by goats and then having to compete with weeds has them a little bit stunted right now. But again, this is our trial year. That's what's fun about agriculture. You do things and you learn from doing. So this is our year to learn by doing and see what works here. Okay, digging up some soil in the part that has not been tilled yet, and just noticing things. That's part of the process, is noticing things. This soil is much more compact than what was tilled. It kind of forms a big chunk in my hand. I collect it into my bag, and we can save it to do some soil testing later, but much more compact, so probably less pore spaces, and compaction can be a big deal, leading to flooding of fields, and plants either being waterlogged or not getting the water where they need. So, okay, we'll compare this to the alfalfa plot. So I'm in the kind of walking path in the middle. We've got a bed to one side, a bed to the other side. This whole area was plowed though, and here's where I took my samples, but gets compact, but if I squish it, it still falls apart. So the tilling aerates the soil a bit, and you can see it's pretty, I don't know, it's wet. It makes these nice crumbles. To me, this looks like it has nice pore spaces, but we'll let the plants do the talking for us. So this is our corn plot. Little corn plant here. Little corn plant there. Thank you, goats, for ruining their growth. But here's some soil I've been digging up. It's a lot sandier than the other soils. Could just be location differences, but you see a kind of clumps. We've got compaction. Definitely appears a lot more sandier, so maybe we'll take 2 different locations in this plot, but that's the soil. Okay, now we are in the silvopasture pilot plot. Grasses are out of control. Growing really well. I just pulled out this guy so that we can get into this soil here. And this is a fun test. See all of the bugs. Having bugs in your soil is a good thing. It means there's nutrients in the soil. It means there's things that those bugs are finding to eat. So I'm not picking up very well in the camera, but there's little bugs all around here, and there's some big guys that are running down there. We've had a lot of earthworms, not right here, but let's see how this soil looks. Compaction a little bit, but there's pore spaces in this. This doesn't, I guess it does stick together, but it's pretty wet. Yeah, this is nice looking. You see all those roots in that soil. This is what happens when there's living roots. So we'll sample some of this. All right, last little bit. These are our bags that we collected. You can see there's a lot of condensation, so tons of moisture in the soil. Not at all surprising since it's rainy season, but let's try to get some of that moisture off, and we can just look at differences in colors. This is from the cut grass. Yeah, it's pretty hard to see with the corn, but you can kind of see there's a little bit of sand in there. From the tilled area and from the silvopasture pilot. So here we go.